My father was temporarily barred from his church responsibilities after he chose to recognize federal employees in the same manner the church honors veterans, prompting our family to leave the congregation. The pastor stated that federal workers don't warrant the same respect as nurses or military personnel. I'm sharing this because of a recent event that led to my dad's suspension from his duties at the church, where he served for over a decade. He discussed this with me and my two younger brothers during a family meeting last week, and as a result, we didn't attend church this past Sunday. My parents hold leadership roles in our church, where leaders typically deliver announcements about upcoming events or programs after worship, before the offering is collected and the pastor preaches. Our church is large with 2 services, and the incident occurred during my dad's announcements last week. The announcements follow a routine, updating the congregation on events, then inviting first-time visitors to stand, receive a welcome booklet, and be greeted by the congregation. When someone in a military uniform is present, or a family informs the church that a military relative is visiting, they're asked to stand, often receiving a standing ovation. Last week, no military members were present, but my dad asked federal employees to stand, thanked them for their service to the nation, and reassured them that God is in control no matter how challenging things seem. During our family meeting, he explained that he felt God prompted him to honor federal workers, similar to how the church recognized nurses during the pandemic when in-person services resumed. He also wanted to affirm their value amid recent controversies surrounding the federal government. However, an assistant pastor contacted him during the week, saying he shouldn't have done that. My dad disagreed, pointing out that the senior pastor often encourages leaders to follow the Holy Spirit's guidance, even if it deviates from planned services. For instance, when worship feels particularly powerful, the pastor might extend the music or call for an impromptu altar call. Sometimes someone speaks in tongues, and a leader provides an interpretation afterward. My dad felt his actions aligned with this principle. He also mentioned that he's been contemplating leaving the church for a while, citing its increasing political tone as a factor. The assistant pastor who informed him of the suspension argued that federal workers don't deserve recognition like nurses or veterans because they can work from home and be unproductive. He even called it disrespectful to veterans and nurses. My dad, however, believes federal workers are unfairly criticized and deserved encouragement. He was suspended from announcements for several weeks, which solidified his belief that it's time to leave. He discussed this with us, considering my brother's friendships at church, wanting them to maintain those connections, similar to keeping friends from different schools. I admire my dad for being transparent with us, and my mom believes the suspension was unjust. Dad is stressed about his role as a deacon and how to resign before his term ends without causing conflict. He's unsure about who to inform or how to proceed. My mom said they'll figure it out together. I don't have much advice on resigning, but I'd love to hear from anyone with experience or suggestions on how he can step down gracefully. Update 1. I'm grateful for the insights shared on my initial post, and I discussed some with my parents, including one particularly eye-opening comment. My dad took a few days to pray about his next steps and gain new perspective from a commenter who noted that asking federal workers to stand could compromise their safety. As operational security, OPSEC is critical for federal employees, especially in today's political climate. The commenter highlighted the risk of someone unstable targeting them after the service. Dad hadn't considered this and wondered if it contributed to his suspension, though the assistant pastor never mentioned it. He decided to meet with the senior pastor to discuss the suspension, and we held another family meeting afterward. Dad reiterated the assistant pastor's stance that federal workers shouldn't be compared to nurses or veterans due to their ability to telework. He also admitted his error in asking federal workers to stand, potentially endangering them, and asked if this influenced the suspension. The pastor clarified that safety wasn't the issue. He had approved the suspension, echoing the assistant pastor's view that honoring federal workers was inappropriate. When Dad pointed out that many federal workers are also veterans, nurses, or firefighters, groups the church honors, the pastor remained unmoved. After the meeting, my mom said they decided to stop attending immediately, feeling the church's response was disrespectful. Dad, a deacon and former trustee with over a decade of service, was hurt. They also noted the hypocrisy. Other leaders are allowed to follow the Spirit's prompting, like extending worship or delivering spontaneous messages, yet Dad was punished. I shared a commenter's point about the church's political shift, and my parents agreed. The senior pastor, who once avoided politics and urged prayer for all leaders, now openly supports the current president's re-election, which has disappointed them. Dad announced we'd pause attending church until they find a new one. Some commenters found the church's habit of publicly honoring people off-putting, and Dad agreed it sometimes felt forced. For example, couples request recognition for milestone anniversaries, which can seem attention-seeking. Similarly, a veteran once complained after being asked to stand without prior consent, feeling blindsided, yet the church continued the practice. The pastor justified it, saying it boosts the service's energy, comparing it to a theme park's veteran tribute. Dad believes God doesn't need such tactics to inspire worship. Update 2. Since my last post, my parents and I have had disagreements, but I want to address points raised in messages. Some Christians said they supported my dad's suspension for bringing politics into church, while others argued a deacon might lack the authority to honor people as he did. On the first point, Dad believes praying for those who are hurting, like federal workers, isn't political. He sees them as public servants, akin to Jesus' selfless service, noting many could earn more in the private sector but choose community service. On the second point, other deacons and leaders in our church also make announcements and honor groups like veterans, as part of introducing the congregation to its staff. We skipped church for 3 weeks before a leader called to check on Dad. He hadn't told anyone we left, but informed the leader we likely wouldn't return. Another leader later called, inviting our family to be honored for our years of service. Dad wanted us to attend to leave amicably, but I strongly disagreed. He's served over a decade, yet they suspended him for something other deacons have done. Like when a newer deacon honored police officers in 2020 after the George Floyd protests, urging people not to judge all officers. I feel the church disrespected us, and attending feels like groveling. Dad insists on leaving gracefully, comparing it to not burning bridges at a job, but I argue a church isn't a job. It doesn't pay him, and respect should be mutual. He believes God used this to prompt our exit, regretting not leaving earlier when the church ignored veterans' complaints about being used as props, or became more political, especially with frequent mentions of Trump. Despite his dislike for Trump, Dad stayed for the community. I'll probably attend the final service, but I resent it and think the church might be saving face. Update 3. I forgot to update sooner, but messages asking for closure reminded me. Despite my objections to returning, my parents decided to attend the final service. I felt we left on our terms, and the church wanted us to leave on theirs, showing disrespect after Dad's long service. He compared it to not burning bridges at a job, but I argued a church isn't a workplace. You don't need a reference for a new one. Dad wanted to leave open the possibility of returning, which I found weak, like staying open to a toxic ex. He eventually agreed not to force me to attend, so I stayed home. When they returned, Dad was upset and didn't want to discuss it, saying I shouldn't care since I wasn't there. Mom later shared that he was frustrated by questions from congregation members after the service, which he hadn't anticipated. The honoring was brief, 5 minutes on stage with a pastor thanking them for their service, followed by a prayer. Dad wasn't asked to speak. Since then, my parents have visited other churches but haven't chosen a new one. They said I don't have to join their search, as I'll likely leave for college soon and can find my own church. I appreciate their flexibility, but leaving has made me question my faith. Some messages mocked my casual mention of speaking in tongues, which I grew up seeing as normal in our Pentecostal church. Reading those comments made me question how tongues are interpreted and whether they're manipulated to push agendas. It feels like there's no oversight, and I worry about being seen as odd for accepting it. This has shaken my faith, and I'm considering stepping away from Christianity as I prepare for college. The tongues issue feels like a symptom of broader problems, people claiming divine authority to push personal beliefs, applauded without scrutiny. It reminds me of Christian nationalism, where indoctrinated beliefs go unquestioned. I want to see the world for myself in college and may not return to Christianity, especially since Dad seems open to returning to our old church. For me, that chapter is closed. Next story. My ex-girlfriend lied about a miscarriage to gain my sympathy when she actually had an abortion because the baby wasn't mine. Then I discovered she gave me chlamydia and never disclosed her STD. I'm a 21-year-old guy and my ex, Paige, 22, dated through high school. Our relationship was toxic. In my first year of college, I cheated on her with a one-night stand. I know I was wrong. She wanted to work through it, but a year later, I learned she'd been sleeping with a mutual friend for months, so I ended it. We were clearly not in love, though we hooked up occasionally for a few months after breaking up 6 months ago. Soon after, Paige told me she was pregnant and claimed I was the father. I wasn't interested in rekindling our relationship, but offered to co-parent. She wasn't thrilled, but had no say. A month later, she called, crying, saying she'd miscarried. I was devastated, especially for her, and offered to cover medical costs or find support groups. She got upset, wanting me to stay with her or call more often. I'm now with a new partner and haven't spoken to Paige much. Her friends texted me, saying she's struggling and wants to talk, but I haven't checked in recently. I don't expect her to be over the miscarriage, but I'm not sure why she expects me to be her support. I'm not a therapist, so I don't think I can help. Any advice is welcome. Update 1, I wasn't planning to update, but things escalated. My friend Anna, who's close to Paige and dating my best friend, returned from study abroad. Here's our text exchange, paraphrase since I can't share images. Anna, hey, did Paige tell you about March? Me, yeah, she told me right away. Why? Anna, she shared what happened. I just wanted to make sure she told you and you got checked out. Me, yeah, a while back, you think I should reach out? Anna, she wants to talk, but that's not my business, just making sure you're okay. Me, I'm good now, thanks for checking. I thought she meant the miscarriage, as her friends had urged me to help Paige. But when I saw Anna in person, she asked if being good meant I tested negative or got treated. Confused, I asked what she meant. She explained Paige admitted to sleeping around before and after our breakup, got pregnant, knew the baby wasn't mine, and had an abortion. After, she tested positive for chlamydia in March. I'm furious she didn't tell me about the STD, though I'm over the rest. It's odd she told Anna, who's our mutual friend and a bit of a gossip. She told Paige about my cheating and me about hers. My partner and I are getting tested, as I may have had chlamydia for 6 months. I'm tempted to confront Paige. Note, Anna being a narc is a joke. We tease her for always doing the right thing by spilling secrets. My bad for unclear phrasing. Update 2, her requests, here's an update. My partner and I tested positive for chlamydia and got antibiotics. She's surprisingly calm and has helped me stay grounded. I considered confronting Paige, but decided it's pointless. She didn't know she had it when we hooked up. Some suggested suing, but I doubt I can, and as a senior in college, I have bigger priorities. Anna cut Paige off for unrelated reasons, which is a relief since she's our last mutual friend. And Anna, her boyfriend, my partner, and I are moving in together soon. I'm worried about Paige, though. Her other friends who pushed me to help her tend to bail when things get tough. I considered asking Anna to check on her but won't push it. I'm done with this mess. Lesson learned. Get tested regularly and use protection. Edit. Her advice, asking Anna to check on Paige would be a mistake, so I've blocked Paige and am moving on.